Hi guys, welcome back. Today we're going to have a talk about AI assisted processing and its growing use in planetary imaging. It's a conversation I'd rather not be having because I'm going to call a spade a fucking spade, as it were, and it'd be much easier for me to just keep posting videos doing what I'm doing with my big dobs, and the people that are interested in Hubble optics that care and happy with that. It's a great little community. But I feel the need to say something for the younger generation that may lose the finer points of this hobby to AI processing programs and the people that are quietly using them without telling anyone. So I'm going to put forward my cases why we should frown upon this without its disclosure, and to never allow its use in any form of competition unless it's disclosed in the results. Now that'd change things. If the results came out, any prize winner, and it was disclosed there, it'd make things different. It'd make people think about using it. So if the discussion interests you, stick around and watch the video. I'm screen recording behind you, so just understand that I'm sort of looking at stuff and placing bits and pieces elsewhere. Comment down below if you have a difference of opinion. I'd like to hear all sides of the argument. There's no judgment. This topic needs to be discussed, and to get its best outcomes, I'm not interested in sitting in an echo chamber. So comment if you've got a different opinion or you want to say something. So we're going to leave deep sky AI processing discussion alone for today due to pixel scale for each discipline being extremely different. Also, I feel AI-assisted noise removal programs are not really on trial here today. I don't use them at all in my planetary imaging, but the ones that focus on just removing the noise generated in the image, I feel they're pretty good, and they don't really change any of the original capture data in any significant way. So that's why I think they're totally fine. But it's a concept as a whole that we've got to watch out for. So let's do a quick 30-second revision on what AI-assisted processing software is. Where did AI-assisted processing software come from? And what was it originally used for? It's a pretty complex topic, but I won't waste your time and we'll dive straight into Topaz Labs for their suite of programs. I feel they're widely considered to be one of the best image manipulation programs available in the AI field. In short, these programs have their roots grounded in the hobby of photography of animals in the great outdoors, with more than one of the original programs having been trained in the hobby of imaging birds and other animals in nature. Imaging animals and birds usually requires a fast shutter speed to freeze the action, resulting in sharp but darker and noisier images in all but the best lighting conditions. People would then use the best techniques available to sharpen their images and minimise the noise. The programs in their infancy were fed an enormous number of images to train the algorithm to see through the noise and find the plausible data in the image. They used edge detection and contrast analysis to make the changes in the image to increase detail and reduce and remove noise. This was the goal of the program, with the reality being a bit hit and miss sometimes. So to be clear, my contention here today is if you cannot bring out the details in your image with the fantastic set of traditional software that we have at our disposal today, then you have not resolved that detail in your image. It really is that simple. When you decide to use AI programs to process your images, you're now officially in the art territory. And you've left the world of credibility if you chose to use those programs and then kept it undisclosed. The reason AI programs are perceived to be bringing out more detail is they're actually inventing plausible detail from the analysis of the faint and inconclusive captured data in the file. The hobby of planetary imaging has its roots in science, and thus we must factually represent the captured data, especially in use in competition. This conversation will be uncomfortable for regular users of AI processing programs because nobody discloses the use of their products with their images. We are just in the early days of AI use in processing, and we are already having troubles with its misuse. We've all seen those images online and think, something's not right with that. I imagine in another 5 years it will be out of control if limits or expectations on its use are not implemented, especially in competition use, in an attempt to rein it in. Myself and a group of my peers that discuss planetary imaging daily all have the same opinion of its use. We agree that this will be a detriment to the hobby if its use remains unchecked. The vast majority of planetary imaging community on cloudy nights will also leave you with no uncertainty about their feelings of AI's use, with a short, quick response of the negative variety if AI processing conversation is even suggested. There's a couple of pages I'll link down below. You can have a read through if you like. One good example was when social media user and content creator, the vast reaches, copped the full brunt of the planetary imaging community when an image they posted of Saturn a few years ago contained some never before seen techniques to process the ring system, essentially giving their 8-inch scope here on Earth the resolving power of the Hubble Space Telescope. The image took off on social media with the people with less of an understanding of imaging and scope resolution just accepting it was a true and faithful image of the planet. With the attention and many likes the user ultimately received being mostly detrimental in the end. Lots of talented images being tagged and having the image shoved under their nose with questions of why you can't do this with your bigger scope. In the end, everyone said, just stop. It's fake, the resolution of the details is higher than Hubble, and he's using mid-level gear here on Earth. Chris Go, Tom Williams and other well-respected imagers laid out in plain terms why this image was not based in reality. After the explanation to clarify why the image was not real, it eventually freed up their inboxes and being tagged in media posts for the shitfight that it had become. I've looked up the user for some material to write this piece today, and it's back posting normal images again. So now his images look exactly like they should from a user that is experienced and using an 8 and a 12-inch scope to do planetary. So congratulations to him, because everyone is entitled to make mistakes and move on. There are a lot of very popular content creators out there right now, and their content should be looked at as art. They may not have started out producing art years ago, but it has evolved into a processing war now with astrophotography targets as a scene. They're constantly getting more dreamlike in their output, and they just don't look right. We've all seen the mineral moon image, which is just a blend of pulling saturation sliders, to simplify it, with extreme brightness and glow around the edges and clouds and stars. They're composites, and also the Jupiter and Saturn images with the aurora around them. That stuff's not real. Most regular people are not aware that it isn't real, but I have no doubt in my mind that their content is heavily manipulated in AI-assisted processing, but they're just doing their thing, and I don't really care. I don't know if their audience or the people that purchase their prints understand that AI was used to manipulate the image into its final form, but that's not for me to discuss and call out names. I'm lucky enough to have a secure job that pays well, and I'm not really relying on selling images to make ends meet. I haven't even monetized my YouTube channel. So using AI-assisted processing programs undisclosed is really what we want to discuss here today. If you're passing it off as reality, that's where it's a problem. With probably 99% of people using these products not disclosing in their images. Like, I can't remember the last time I saw an image somewhere and it said AI-assisted processing used in the final image. If you're using it, you've obtained that detail in their image in a false and misleading way. The general public does not know this, and the reality is they won't ever know. They're being deceived. And to be honest, a large percentage of the planetary imaging community can't really tell either. They might see that there's something off about it, but I feel like if you've been lucky enough to have really nice seeing and start to get to the limits of the resolving power of bigger scopes, maybe like mine and 16, 14 inch, you start to understand what the limits are. with what you can see. We've all had those good nights. So this is where it gets really tricky, because we need to discuss Damien Peach, and all he's contributed to the hobby realistically. But one thing that doesn't sit right with me is 4 or 5 years ago, he openly admits to using the Topaz AI programs to process his images. I just don't feel good about that. I mean, it's a credit to him that he's saying that in public, and he shows the use of the programs during his processing sessions on his Patreon. If anyone appreciates planetary imaging, you can bet their last dollar that you've more than likely seen his images over the years. He's an extremely talented imager who's been doing it for a very long time and probably forgotten more about imaging than most people know. After a look online, I've found the current versions of the Topaz Labs suite of programs, so we can visualise what we're talking about here today. And these are a part of Damien's processing programs. The first sample of the program in action, and for the sake of speed, I'll just showcase 3 different sections of the image and its resulting changes to the image we can see. It's quite clear that the sample shown in the Topaz Labs website here, it's not true to the original file. So let's have a look at the tag on the animal's ear. We can all see that it's more than likely a 5, followed with absolute certainty a 0 or an O. Also look at the hairs around the tag. The program has turned this into an absolute mess. You can see that it doesn't resemble anything at all. How did it work that out? Let's also look at the nose. This stood out to me as the worst example of fine details gone wrong in this image. Where did the algorithm find this detail for the guesses that it's made here? We can see that there's an indentation at the bottom of the nose, and I'd expect to see something there as it's being sharpened or changed. But there's no way any reference or resemblance to a sharp line that goes all the way up to the top of the nose is in the original data. And then finally, you can look anywhere on the animal and just look at the hair. Everywhere you look, there's multiple mistakes with hair, turning multiple clumps into 2 strands, or even changing the direction of those hairs, almost as if it has disregarded the original reference image. Now, the second example I've got here to look at is an example of the waterfall with Sharpen AI. Now, the intention here, Topaz tells us, is to refocus the subject. I feel this is probably the best representation of how it would react in our hobby's environment. None of our targets, after stacking, look like they're in focus. This example of the waterfall is very much like the clouds on the planet that we image the most, with Jupiter, Venus and Saturn's environment almost perfectly matches this sample. Let's look at how the program uses its algorithm to guess what the data should actually look like. Ultimately, this example they chose to show, again, ends up in a complete mess with minimal resemblance to the original image. I would absolutely just prefer to tell a friend that I saw a lovely waterfall and be done with it, rather than look at this shit. The program absolutely cannot be trusted to factually represent the details captured in any image, and it's very clear that the assumptions made are way off the mark and incorrect almost everywhere you look. How can anyone think this is okay to use when processing their images? God knows. But when Damien himself says AI processing programs need to be used responsibly, what does he mean? He's basically saying that he's aware of the issues and the dilemma we have with these programs and their use. So he knows the facts and accepts that it is making up details in the images, but he's happy to still use it. Does that seem right to you? I mean, does he push it until it looks too much and then back it off a little bit? Is that an okay technique to use? Or if you're using any AI in your image process routine, it's cheating. The details have been manipulated with the program's use. Even slight use of this program will create new features in the image. The above examples I've just shown you show that it's true. Now, the video he discusses this topic is a free video on his Patreon page, and I saw it linked on Cloudy Night's thread a while ago. We will not watch it here because it's Damien's content, but I'll link it in the description down below so you can go and watch it and make up your own mind. This will be much fairer, and you can hear him discuss the topic himself, so it doesn't look like I've taken a soundbite and run with it. So please watch it and make up your own mind. He deserves that consideration, and after you've watched it, let me know your thoughts. I mean, I personally don't understand why he's using it. He's a big boy and doesn't give a shit what I say, but why is he using it? Is it to stay relevant in the field of new wave talented images that's arrived? Is he staying true to the superb C14 scope that he knows like the back of his hand and served him so well? The 14-inch Cassegrain cannot resolve the same detail of the bigger scopes with talented users at the helm under good skies. It's a question only Damien can answer, but I know we would definitely disagree on its use. There's a purity amongst the Planetary community that does not want AI-assisted processing in their discipline of their hobby. Now, the video predates his runners-up award at the Royal Greenwich Museum's competition, the Astrophotographer of the Year in 2021. The image I want to discuss here quickly is from when he and Chiliscope collaborated on a Mars image. It was a very nice image. They captured it with their 1 metre Cassegrain observatory class scope. It's a pay-to-play option for observers across the globe and in regular use for the public, which is a fantastic thing on its own, and a credit to them for offering that service to people with the cash. The rules in 2025 state that AI-assisted processing can be used, just needs to be disclosed. I've got no idea why that would be the case. They should not be allowing it to be used in competition. And I'm sure this would have been the case for 2021 awards as well. We are not accusing these guys of any wrongdoing, but do you hand an award to an image that has been manipulated with AI over other excellent images that haven't used these techniques? Did this image beat out other great images submitted that did not use AI processing techniques? When looking at it, with my eye and experience in the hobby, but it's just my opinion, but it is also shared by others, we get an uneasy feeling when we look at this awarded image. There are some extremely strange looking segments on the image with amazing detail and some extremely soft areas adjacent to these details. And that kind of detail that is generated in this image looks very artificial, to say the least. It seems quite obvious to me that AI has been used here. I mean, I could be wrong, but it's just a feeling I get when I look at the image. When I get it up on the screen next to a Hubble Space Telescope image of Mars using a mirror of over twice the size and not looking through the atmosphere of the Earth, and this image is still sharper in regions, alarm bells start to ring in my head. Of course, I'd happy to be proven wrong here, and I would openly admit to my mistake if I was ever able to play with the raw data. But let's not forget two things here. I'm in no way suggesting that he has cheated and did not disclose the use of AI in this image, as the rules of competition state that AI is okay to use, but it must be disclosed. But why are we letting AI-assisted processing into our competitions? And the second thing we need to remember is he has many astrophotography awards that predate AI-assisted programs and his use of these programs. So let's not forget this either. This is not a witch hunt. Is there a simpler solution to this problem we're facing going forward? Can these programs embed data into the images to disclose each program's use? Or even better, if you win an award and you have used AI programs in your image and have disclosed it, it must be disclosed on the details for the public when the results of the prize winners and shortlisted images are shown. It would change your mind if you saw AI programs were used to process this image. So, after seeing all this today, would you unfollow your favourite imager if they were using these programs and not disclosing it? Will you ask them next time you see one of their images? Let's be the change you want to see. It's time to start asking those hard questions if you want this great hobby to continue in its current form. What we are talking about is keeping the hobby safe for the next generation of images. I will start to wrap up with a quote from Damien himself when discussing Sharpen AI in the video link below. He cautions its use and says, "It just invents details that simply aren't there." Let that sink in. He said it just invents details that aren't there. So if one of the best images in the past 20 years says it invents details that simply isn't there and he is still using it, to me, something is fundamentally wrong here. It just seems illogical. I mean, let's also not focus on this particular image, but we need to start this conversation if we want to change. And I can tell you that all of my peer group think this is a necessary topic to tackle, and we should do it now rather than when it's too late or we are fighting a losing battle. In summary, in competitions where we need rules to promote fairness, it should not be used at all. And in my world, if you post an image to social media and have used these programs, you should say it. Now, I know that's not going to happen. I'm realistic. I'm not an idiot. But there are reasons why people do not disclose its use, and it's because it would be frowned upon. Imagine your favourite social media creator started adding on every post processed using AI. How long would it take for you to unfollow them when you realise the image may or may not be real? AI processing software in its use is computer art. It's making guesses and enacting on the flawed concept. It's not image enhancement, it's image manipulation. Now, just to finish up here on a thought, I always say to my friends and peers that comparison is a thief of joy, and we should not do it in any walk of life. You see me everywhere praising images of all standards because a pat on the back is free, and you never know when somebody really needs a hand or a good word. It may mean more than you could ever know to that person on that day. AI-assisted programs have no part in planetary imaging, and we need to look after the future of the hobby. So the younger imaging people can still enjoy the hobby, and so it's not stacked against them in the future. Now, if you're still here after all this, it's a credit to you, because I probably couldn't listen. I know my kids couldn't listen to me crap on for 15 minutes, but using these programs to process your images is actually cheating. And as Damien says, you are just cheating yourself. And if you fail to disclose the use of these programs in your images, then you're starting to cheat everyone else. So what is done is done. Let's not look back. Let's move forward and try to level the playing field for everyone. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.